Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in to the return of the hit radio show Uncovering the Underground, brought to you by my company, Celestial Oddities Radio and Brutal Business Entertainment. As always, I am your host, Frater Crow, a.k.a. ICKUM, and I want to thank you for tuning in tonight. Whether you are listening live, streaming after the fact, or you've downloaded the episode to your device for on the go, any which of the three is fine, and we do want to thank you for your patronage and support. Just make sure that you click the like, share, and follow button on whatever platform you are tuning in from, whether it be iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Deezer, Spreaker, CastBox, Google Play, Amazon Podcast, you name it. We are on it, so feel free to listen where you feel comfortable. But by clicking those buttons, it helps move us up the podcast community rankings, allows more people to discover the show, keeps you in the loop with new episodes as they air, and gives you unfiltered access to our past archives. And folks, there's something for absolutely everyone out there that's a fan of entertainment, and who isn't. We bring you shows, or we will be bringing you shows every single week, 8:30 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for the next several months. And then as my other two radio shows come back into effect for season 3, we'll be staggering them, each and every other week, which I will put out a schedule at that point. If you're new to the show, we certainly bring on a lot of different great up-and-coming names across the field of music, comedy, athletics, modeling, movies, oddities, adult entertainment, you name it, we bring them on the show. We find out who they are, about their art and what they do, where you can check out their material, and then we have a talk show segment of just talking over great topics and ideas. And tonight will certainly be a great episode, but before we jump into tonight's guest, I do want to thank any return listeners that have been with me in the past. If you are new, stick around. You'll certainly find something you love, as I said. I want to go over a little bit of why it is that we were returning, because some folks might be new to the show and say, well, where did you go? Originally, it wasn't set to be a seasonal show where it was just an ongoing radio show. We aired for 65 consecutive shows, and I also ran another show called Celestial Oddities Pair of Normal Guys podcast, centering around material and topics of the paranormal and supernatural. That show will be coming back in again this year for season 3. That's been ongoing. And I also have another show called Knights of the Nephilim podcast, centered around occultism and ceremonial ritual magic. That show replaced this one because at the time I didn't have enough time to be able to do 3, and I really wanted to start an occult magic show to really give people good information on that type of topic, as that's something very near and dear to me. So I ended this show after 65 episodes and started that. I am happy to say it is about to kick in with its 3rd season later this year as well. You can check out both of those other shows under the umbrella of Celestial Oddities Radio and Brutal Business Entertainment. Now, with things changing in life, I've had more time available to me, which has allowed me to be able to come back in with this show again. Great show to introduce you guys to people you might not, certainly know about, and to realms you might not know about. Tonight we will be talking about oddities, and there's a lot of things tonight that if you're not in the oddities world, you wouldn't know about, but you might find very interesting and very entertaining. So stick around. Like I said, we have a great guest tonight. That is the reason for our return, and I'm very happy to be back here this evening. So feel free to share it around, and if not only do you have the option of listening in, but if you would like to go through Spreaker, Spreaker, whether you do that through Spreaker.com or through the Spreaker app on the app market, you can actually not only listen into the show, but it is the only way that you can interact with us live during the show. So if you're listening out there right now and you would like to actually talk with us during the show, ask our guest this evening any questions, give your input and feedback, I will read those things off live on the air, so feel free to do so. And once again, that is Spreaker.com, Spreaker. You can search Uncovering the Underground or Celestial Oddities, and then you'll find us. You can also look us up on Facebook, under our events pages under Uncovering the Underground as well. So tonight we have a very special guest. Not only would he be interesting as a guest at any point in time on the show, but to kick off season 2 with this man is very, awesome to me, because he's someone who I find to be very skilled in his craft, someone I find to be very entertaining in the material he puts out and what he presents. And tonight's guest is Jeremy Lee Pauley. And Jeremy is not only the curator of the Memento Mori Museum, but he is a specialist in several fields of oddities, and when I say that, he is the world's leading specialist in Anthropodermic bibliopegy. I can never say the word right. Which, if you're a layman like myself, I know what it means. I just can't speak. It's the specialty of bounding or binding books in human skin, which is something that is very rare. There's few in the world who do it, and there's no one who does it on a regular basis and to the level that Jeremy does. Not only does he specialize in this craft, but he is also a specialist in restoration of wet specimens and currently working on mastering plastination, which we'll speak about tonight as well. He is an avid oddities collector and avid oddities seller and dealer, and works with a lot of awesome and rare pieces. He's one of the leading people in this field, and it's a field that I'm certainly involved in as well for anybody who's been close to me or knows me. So I certainly relate to this man, and I'm excited to get to pick his brain tonight. So pull up a chair, make some popcorn, pop open a beer, and tune in as we uncover the underground with Jeremy Lee Pauley. How you doing tonight, brother?
Good.
I appreciate you coming on to the show tonight.
Oh, absolutely.
I apologize to the listeners out there and to Jeremy. For some reason, it's always those weird times, those inopportune times, but I'm kicking off season 2 of Uncovering the Underground, and I click record, and then one of my programs I need to do this show shuts down. And you probably, if anybody did hear that little soundbite, it's out there right now to the world and the internet. You're going to hear me say, all right, we are live, and what... never mind, but click, and then it shuts off. So anybody hearing that, yes, I do sound like a dumbass on that, and I apologize. But every once in a while, you have to have those fun moments of just, technical difficulty. So anybody had heard that, I apologize. But you are on the right episode if you're hearing this one. And like I said, we have some great content for you guys tonight. And Jeremy, I like to always kick off my interviews, very traditional in the sense that I like to ask people how it is that they got started into their field, whether it be music, whether it be acting or modeling, and in your case, oddities. Where did the path for you start as far as collecting, as far as being involved in this specialty?
Well, I always tell people, I was the goth kid who never grew up. You know what I mean? From very, very, very young age, I always just enjoyed, the darker side of things. You know what I mean? I loved Halloween as a kid and all the Halloween specials, at a very young age. And then I can remember what really struck me was there was an old show on Nickelodeon called Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh, absolutely.
And there was an episode, I believe it was a ghost cabbie taxi driver episode, but the one character, Dr. Fink, pulls out a jar with a human hand in it. And it's my first memory of just being oh my God, that's so interesting, and it just stuck with me. And, years later, as I tried to find my path in life and stuff, I eventually started collecting the basic oddities that you can find on eBay and things at the time. And, one day when I purchased my first human skull, it was the biggest thing in the world to me, and at some point, my interest in the macabre shifted more from just the fact it was a macabre to more I wanted to learn about what made things special. And I just kept collecting and kept networking and just, kept talking to people, professors, doctors, anybody that would be willing to let me talk their ear off. And it just spun into something that for many years I was doing it as I would sell to collect. I would sell things and kind of have a side hustle to afford the collection I was building, and I'd own other businesses and things like that. And then at some point, my wife said to me, she was just why don't you just do this full time? Because you're so invested and you love it so much, and you're just, it's the happiest I see you, when you're interacting with these items and with people of like mind. And then I just was you know what, fuck it. Yeah, why not? You know what I mean? If I fail, I have nobody to blame but me. And if I succeed, I put food on the table and pay my bills, and I get to love every day I work.
Well, I think a big thing for people, for taking a chance, you're either going to make it or you're going to crash and burn, but you're not going to know until you take that step to find out. And some of the best accomplishments have been made just by throwing caution to the wind and just taking that step.
Absolutely. I wouldn't change it for anything.
Now, folks, I want to go back. It's one of the words that I can't say unless I think about it first, and it's bibliopegy, and that's how it's properly pronounced. I don't know what the hell I was trying to say earlier, but it's one of those things when you're trying to say it on the fly. Oh, yeah, he's a specialist in anthropodermic bibliopegy. It's not exactly easy to say. But so you obviously started out, as you said, you got your first human skull, you started collecting at that point, started selling to be able to build your collection, which, I mean, I got to be honest with you, I've done and still do even from time to time. I'll sell some pieces just so I can obtain a new piece, but I do sell regularly as well. My question, I guess, would be, do you still have the original skull?
No, I do not, but I do have the very first wet specimen I ever obtained.
Okay, so you kept the first wet, but you didn't keep the skull. Okay, I was going to say, I knew there had to have been something that was near and dear to you. It was one of your first pieces that you never let go of.
Yep, I always had a penchant for wet, especially fetal specimens, which, a lot of people even that know me even think that's a little bizarre, but I love them because, like, I tell people all the time, I'm like, when I look at them, I don't see a dead baby. I see something that in the short period of time it was alive in the womb. It never knew fear or hate or prejudice or anxiety. It just existed. And for me, it's like looking at that is so serene to me because, like, once we're born, we spend our whole fucking lives trying to get that piece back.
True.
And we never do.
Yeah. I mean, I talk about it often, especially in my other two shows, because the topic matter of those shows are either the paranormal and supernatural or occult magic and ritual. And I talk often about how children, whether, prior to being birthed into this world or afterwards, are very pure vessels. They're very pure minds, and they're in a different wavelength than we are as we grow. And the reason that is I always gave the analogy that, we are like satellite dishes, and over time, the programming of everything and everyone that we come into contact with changes our perception of reality and what reality is. We create our own reality by the stimulation and stimuli of everything that we encounter.
Absolutely.
And as a child, I mean, you're so incredibly pure and open to the world, and you see into levels of understanding and of the world that grown-ups can't often see into because we're too programmed. The only way to be able to reach those levels is to really defrag our mind, to take time to wipe off the soot and the dirt that the world has thrown at us to kind of get back to that purity. So I absolutely understand what you're speaking of in these wet specimens, and they're at their purest form, and there's so much history to be learned by some of the older medical specimens of how far we've come medically in advancement to things.
Oh yeah! Oh my God! Yeah.
Then.
Yeah, I especially loved like anything with a congenital anomaly, and and there were times they were using the sideshow and things like that back in the old days. But like I love them because some people see them and they feel sad, but I'm like, do you know how many lives were saved because somebody saved this specimen and it taught doctor after doctor after doctor, and those doctors taught classes, and those doctors taught classes, and now this particular deformity that was once a death sentence, now that kid can grow up and be a functioning adult. It's such rich history.
It really is. I mean, it's crazy to look at medical advancements, not even from 50 years ago to now, but even 10 years ago to now. We're constantly evolving, and it's just wild to see the things that we have learned to overcome, that we've learned to be able to cure. And a lot of the wet specimens I know that you have are things that are no longer really threatening to, the human race necessarily in a lot of cases. But if you rewind back 40 years ago, if you rewind back 60 years ago, were very prevalent, things that you would constantly have to worry about. It's just amazing to think how we adapt.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, so when you first started out, I mean, what was your plan? I mean, because it was a lot different time, I'm sure. I mean, things are different in the last year or two, especially, and it's something I definitely want to touch base on tonight. Than maybe whenever you originally started collecting, because now everything, I mean, especially with COVID happening, you're not really going out as much and you're not really seeing people face to face. So it is really the oddities business now is really driven online and social media wise. Whereas, you know, if you go back in antiquity and you start thinking about, you know, people have been collecting oddities and selling oddities for hundreds of years. But when you think about it now, it's a completely different ballgame. We have, you know, so much at the tip of our fingers that we can access, that we can come across now and we can sell. But it also brings a different type of feel to it than when it used to be more face-to-face and you had sideshows and things where you'd have to go to try to ever come across these pieces. So how was that starting out until, let's say, fast forward today in the modern, you know, current time in the present, you know, because in the last 2 years, I've watched a huge shift happen in oddities.
I mean, it was definitely very different than it is now. You know, like back then, it literally was like it was meeting people, it was networking in person, it was going to a university and trying not to look like a fucking weirdo. You know, when you wanted to talk to somebody about like, oh, you got some bones in the basement, you know what I mean? Like, you know, but you know, like as things changed, like I was really slow getting the social media. By the time I made a Facebook, like Twitter was already a huge thing. You know what I mean? So like I was like tech, you know, not very tech friendly. But like, yeah, the shift was pretty easy. Like once I like kind of like grew into like, you know, doing personal business online and networking online, you know, I ran with it, but I've always maintained, you know, relationships that I built prior to that. You know, like there's people I still sell to a decade later. You know, there's people that still call me a decade later when they find something in a clean out, you know, so it's kind of like the best of both worlds.
Well, I think it's very important in oddities, you know, especially to have strong sources that you can trust. And we see it on a daily basis, Jeremy, where unfortunately, there's a lot of amazing items and a lot of amazing people that you'll meet within the oddities world. The problem with that is there is a lot of scammers because you are talking higher priced items. You are talking the macabre where, you know, people are going to seek it out, and when they come across it, they have to act on it quick because a lot of these pieces will be gone in an hour if you don't act on it now. So scammers take advantage of that fact. They steal people's pictures. They put it out there and say $3,000 for this right now, but I have 3 other people interested, so that person's then felt pressured. They send the money, and then their better judgment hits them 5 minutes later, and they're like, oh, shit. And then they realize that they just been scammed and lost $3,000. So, I mean, it's become quite wild. I mean, scammers have always been around in every field, but I've noticed even within the last 6 months but it's been happening for a long time. The last 6 months, it has gone rampant. I mean, even today, we were dealing with one on one of the groups. It just was so evident that he was a scammer, but did he work hard to try to say he wasn't. And it's just funny because, I mean, you know, oftentimes, and this is, I'm not saying it's always someone outside of the country, but oftentimes it's someone from another country and they don't speak very great English. And the way that they try to argue and the things that they're saying right away is a dead giveaway. So it's just funny to me that people always have to try to find a way to rip people off. It's sad and disheartening. So as you said, it's very important to have those connections that when you do have customers that believe in you and trust in you and know that they can come to you, they're going to stay loyal to, because why would they go to someone else and take the chance of getting screwed out of thousands? Same thing when you have a vendor or you have a distributor for yourself that you have connections with. A lot of times you're not going to dip your toe into foreign waters because, especially if you're dealing on a high level of volume, you really don't want to take that chance.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's just wild what you know, every field that I've ever belonged to, from occultism to oddities to music to photography, there's always been scam artists on a high volume. And it just blows your mind. No matter what you get involved with, there's always people that'll try to seep in and take advantage of the unknowing. And, you know, it's just a shame.
Oh yeah. As long as there's anything that involves money, whether it's baseball cards, bones, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like somebody will always be there to try to, you know, screw somebody over.
Now, when you started first coming out social media wise and really started promoting yourself and putting up posts and, you know, more of an abundance of people started learning about you from across the world and across the country, what kind of, you know, what kind of interactions did you have? Was it perceived well, or was there a lot of people kind of weirded out and thrown off? Because there's a lot of people that deal in bones. That's not necessarily the most bizarre thing, though some still find that to be pretty crazy. But when you start dealing with wet specimens, especially on the scale that you do, I know there's still, even to today, I see people from time to time give you shit, and not often, but it does happen. And, they don't understand. And they want to automatically jump to, name calling or just being naive and understanding how this all works. So, I mean, how was everything perceived when you first, started publicly presenting yourself?
I mean, I have to admit, like, over the years, it was perceived really well, actually. You know what I mean? And yeah, I still get one fuckhead here and there every now and then, but most of the time when somebody does have a negative opinion or negative outlook, I always try to be patient, and I just, I speak, my view on it and why what I'm doing is beneficial, and like why these are important. And so many times I do change their view. They won't have it in their home, or they won't purchase that item, but they can understand why I do. And patience is definitely something needed to do what I do as publicly as I do it.
Well, you have to have patience. I mean, that was one of the things with the guy, that was presenting himself earlier as an oddities dealer and trying to make a quick sell. Actually, in his post, he said, "I'm only interested in someone who's ready to purchase. Don't waste my time. If you're not, I don't have time." Something along the lines like, "I don't have time for questions and this and that." And that's an automatic red flag.
Yeah.
Like I put into the comment, I says, "Listen, fucko," I was like, "if I'm buying a skeleton off you and spending thousands of dollars, you're going to answer every fucking question I have."
Yep.
If you are legit and you're just that arrogant that you're like, "I don't have time to answer your questions," then I'm not buying off you. It's the way that it is. I mean, obviously you don't want to hound someone with 500 questions, but at the same time, if you're not willing to answer my questions, that makes me start thinking some bizarre things.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I've spent an hour conversation with people on a $25 item. You know what I mean? Like, I want them to know that I want them to be comfortable. You know what I mean? I want them to be knowledgeable about what they're buying, whether it's $25 or $2,500. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
And if I can do them justice and answer their questions and they're happy, well, to me, that's a win. Whether I made money or not, even if they decide they don't want the item, they took something from the conversation. At the very least, they took some knowledge.
Exactly. And that's the way I am as well, is I like to make sure that person has a full understanding and grasp of what they're getting, that they're happy with it, that they're going to want to return, because he was the guy that answered all my questions and took time with me. Because too often in time, no matter what the field is, you have people that just seem to think that their time is too valuable for others, but they're in a art or a platform that they deal with the general public. And it's like, it's weird that you are in the public, you present to the public or you sell to the public, but you don't want to interact with the public.
Yeah.
It's one of those strange things. So I see that a lot, but I mean, I always appreciated the fact that even myself, who has been a collector for a while and does a lot of work with these pieces, from time to time, I have questions. I mean, I just asked you a question the other day because for the first time in all these years, I had some speculations on something that luckily I think came out to be not true, but I was really thrown off about some pieces that I got, and I just had never in my life thought anything like that. And you were the first person I thought of. I was like, "Hey, let's go ask Jeremy." And you took your time to answer it. And I always appreciated the fact that anytime I have a question, you do take the time to answer it, because not a lot of people do.
Yeah. And that's why at the end of the day, everything I do is because I want people to learn something. I mean, obviously I have bills to pay and stuff, but like my true passion is just to teach. I enjoy that. So like, I've never been one, like, I don't care if you're buying something from me or not. Like when you hit me up, like if I can be of help, I'll gladly be of help. And if I have no clue what the fuck I'm looking at, I'll tell you that.
When I have that happen to me, I got to be honest with you, I'm not the one to go to for wets. I have some knowledge, but that's not really my field. Mine has always been bones. I mean, I've always been very good on the bone side. And I have people come to me and they're like, "Hey man, you a specialist on wets, or can you answer a bunch of questions on fixing wets?" And I'm like, "I'm not the guy, man." I'll be right up front with them. I'm like, "I'm not even going to pretend I am, because you're going to fuck something up and it's going to be my fault. You need to go to someone else like Jeremy or someone else in the field who specializes in this." So it's good to be up front on that and be honest, because it just leads to trouble if not.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, earlier I mentioned that you are a specialist in the field of anthropodermic I see I'm about to fuck it up again. I have to think about the word. Anyways, you are a specialist in binding books in human skin. How did that come about? Because that itself is a far left field from normal oddities. Yes, you have people with wet specimens and bones and things of that nature, but that is not something you come across often. And as we said earlier, you are the leader in this field, that you do it on a scale beyond anybody I've ever personally seen, and I think anybody that is truly out there. So how did that talent come about?
Well, I'd say maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I had seen a modern binding done, and I was always fascinated, by Anthropodermic bibliopegy. So, like, I was like, oh, I thought it was so cool that, like, someone somewhere decided to make, to do a modern version of it. And I missed out on my chance to buy the book. And, it just kind of was always in my wheelhouse in the back of my head for a long time. And then maybe 2-3 years ago, I managed to get a hold of some human leather. And I, bound my first, I think it was my first 2 books. And, kind of taught myself how to do that and how to do it better each time. And then one day I was doing a clean out, and there was a jar, with skin in it. And I came to find out later that, like, it wasn't really uncommon for these doctors and professors to take skin from a cadaver and hang on to it to tan their medical journals and such and such. And a lot of times they just never got around to it. So it would just sit, with the rest of whatever they preserved, and it would get forgotten in time and end up in storage and what have you. So when that happened, I was like, okay, let me see how to tan some skin, and I'm not going to lie. I definitely fucked up several times, because it's a whole other process compared to like a regular hide, because it's preserved tissue. There's a whole other chemical compound going on. But when I finally figured it out, then I just kind of started hunting harder, calling up all kinds of places that I deal with. And, I'm like, if you see anything like this in storage, call me. And before I knew it, then I just started getting phone calls in general. Like, oh, we hear that you'll buy this out instead of us, just destroying it because the budget says we have to get rid of this storage unit and things like that. And so every chance I get, I'll go anywhere I have to go to pick it up. And then I just, I tan it, and then I wait for the right book or, a commission. And, I just keep pumping them out. And I have like big dry spells, obviously, because it's not like it's easy to come by. So I do a lot of work trying to track it down.
I would imagine. And it's funny to see the reaction on people's face, because I talk to a lot of people. I'm involved with a lot of people in a lot of different areas. And, times will come up where people talk about my oddities and they're like, what's the weirdest thing you've ever had? Or what's the weirdest item you've ever seen? And I'm like, well, it depends on your definition of weird, because there's all sorts of different levels of weird in the oddities field. I'm like, some people find skulls and skeletons weird. Honestly, I think that's pretty much the basic as it gets. But you have, obviously the wet specimens. You have people that collect specifically gallstones. I mean, I find that to be fucking weird, but that's to each their own. Everybody's into their own thing. So when people start asking, I'm like, well, I'm sure from your perspective, you want to hear what you think your weirdest item would be, not mine, because it's going to be different. And I'm like, human leather would probably be the weirdest that you're hearing about. And a lot of people say, wait a second, human leather? And I'll show them some pictures of your work, and people are like, oh, wow. And I'm like, yeah, you like it? I'm like, you never seen shit like that before, huh? And in fact, the other day, I'm fortunate enough to have my grandparents still here, and we were visiting a little late for Christmas because there, some of the family was sick and things. So I just was over at my grandparents' house, and they were asking, how things are going with my entertainment side, because, like I said, I am involved in a lot. And I said, I'm getting ready to launch the newest season of Uncovering the Underground, which they know about my radio shows. And I said, I'm excited for my first guest. And they were asking, who is your first guest? And I gave them a little bit of a background, and they know I'm into oddities as well. And I started telling them about your bookbinding and everything. And my grandma was like, really? And I pulled up some pictures of just unbinded skin, or unbinded leather. And then I showed them pictures of some of the books you've done. And she was just like, wow. She's like, that is not something I've ever seen before. I'm like, I'm sure it isn't, Graham. So it's funny to see people's reaction, and not only are they usually, are surprised, but you would be surprised, I think, to any of our listeners out there, surprised how many people are secretly completely enthralled by it. They see it and they're thrown off, but at the same time, they're like, really? Like, really? It's almost like they're thinking in the back of their mind, I kind of want one, but I don't want to tell anybody. Because who doesn't want a book bound in human leather? I mean, I know I certainly do. I thought about getting one of my magical grimoires. I talked to you about that in the past.
Yeah.
My personal grimoires. I don't want to wrap someone else's book in. I want to wrap my own, and then throughout my own workings and rituals that I do, fully finish a true book of witchcraft. They talk about the old witch books bound in human flesh and all these things, but then, a lot of times people say, oh, that's just old lore of witches and things, which I'm sure there definitely was some books, and then there actually has been some books. I mean, that's actually been proven. But I really wanted to bring that back, and that's probably still on my checklist. It just hasn't happened yet, because my problem is anytime I could possibly start to save up to do this project, I end up coming across another set of skulls that I want. And it's just a problem, folks. People all the time are like, Frater, Skip, whatever you want to call me. They're like, can you get me a skull? And I'm like, I can get you anything you want. Skulls here and there, yeah. I'm like, but most of the time I keep them. That's my problem. I can't seem to let go of them. I'm stacked, and I just don't want to let go of them. It's a problem.
The struggle is real.
It is. I mean, I buy them. I'm like, I'm going to sell these 5. And then I get them, and I'm like, oh, no, I'm not. I'm going to keep every one of them. I want to eventually make my own Paris catacombs and turn my entire ritual temple into solid bones. But we'll see if that happens. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of bone.
It is a lot of bone. But listen, folks, before we go any further into this interview, I think now's a good time to take our first music break. And we'll let you pick, Jeremy. You have 4 choices of colors, and the colors all coordinate with a specific song. We have red, orange, yellow, and green.
Let's go with green.
Green. All right. This first song is from a band that I interviewed last season on Uncovering the Underground. It's called The Wild and Free, and the song is Paper Cut. And we'll be right back on Uncovering the Underground right after this song.
I just wanna shout you out. What a shame I didn't turn you down. What a style you pull it off all around. Let me hoping you would come around. Pull myself together once again. Can't do this forever. Paper towns and paper hearts tear up the seams and fall apart. They fall apart. They fall apart. Shiny gowns and jewelry go together perfectly, but we do not. You're my paper cut. I didn't care what you had done before, but I don't think that I can take much more. Part of me thought you were just misguided. It's clear to see the feelings were one-sided. Pull myself together once again. Can't do this forever. Paper towns and paper hearts tear up the seams and fall apart. They fall apart. They fall apart. Shiny gowns and jewelry go together perfectly, but we do not. tear at the seams and fall apart. They fall apart. They fall apart. Shiny gown and jewelry go together perfectly, but we do not. You're my paper cut.
All right, folks, we're back on Uncovering the Underground radio show. I am Frater Crow, a.k.a. Skippy ICKUM, and I am excited to be bringing you another season of UTU. As we said, this is Season 2, Episode 1. Our guest this evening is Jeremy Lee Pauley, a specialist in the oddities world, works a lot of different angles that we've talked about so far. So if you're just tuning in, don't fret. You can listen to the rest of the episode live, and then after we are done, it will give you the option to stream or download the episode. I always advise doing that, and not only listen to this episode, but you can go back through and listen to our past episodes. As I mentioned, last season, which was never meant to be just a season, it was ongoing, had 65 episodes, 65 guests, lots of conversations from bands to rappers to models to you name it. We had them on the show from all over the country and all over the world and had a lot of fun. And I was very upset whenever I had to end this show to start a different show that was really close and near and dear to my heart. And I'm so incredibly excited to be able to have this show back alongside my other two. So every single week on Thursday night, 8:30 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, except on holiday Thursdays or the random Thursday that I have something else pre-planned, you will catch an episode. You will catch an interview from music to cultism to paranormal. Across all my shows, every week I'll be bringing you entertainment. You know how we get down, you know the fun that we have, and we certainly love you guys listening in. As mentioned before, you can jump onto Spreaker and check us out, not only and listen to the episode, but ask Jeremy questions, leave your input, engage yourself into the show. We always advise it, and I will read off your stuff live on the air, so feel free to do it. That song we played during the break was the band The Wild and Free, and that was the song Paper Cut. If I remember correctly, we interviewed them last year, and I believe that they were just getting ready to go on their tour. Well, it might have been like 2 years ago now. I don't know if shit blends, but hopefully that end up happening for them because, obviously the last 2 years has been an absolute ball of shit. And it's affected a lot of different things out there. And I wanted to bring up, Jeremy, the question that obviously not only are you an avid collector and seller of oddities, but you have taken the venture of starting the Memento Mori Museum. And I wanted to ask how that came about, how that is going, and how you're working around the challenge of COVID and the restrictions and everything that's going on in the world in the last 2 years.
Well, the idea came to me actually from my daughter. She was about like 4, maybe 5. And, when she was young, like every time I got something new in, I would, she'd get excited. She'd be like, "Oh, what's that, Dad?" And I'd be like, "Oh, well, this is this, and this is why it's so special, and this is why it's so unique." And one day, just, as kids do, she just nonchalantly said, "You should start a museum, Dad." She's like, "Because then you can teach everybody." And then, then she bopped off and did what kids do, but it stuck with me to no fucking end. And a couple years went by, and I decided, like, instead of doing something, traditional as a museum, like a brick and mortar, I was like, I'm going to create an organization that is a museum, but I'm going to take things on the road. I'm going to take exhibits on the road, do pop-ups places, because then I can reach more of an audience. So I get to educate more people more often in person, give lectures, do guest speaking, let people handle items like up close and personal with no overhead. You know what I mean? And like, it was the best of both worlds for me. Now, a brick and mortar in the future is definitely something I'd like to do because as things grow, I need a place to put stuff. But, as of the start till now, it was just about like, okay, we're going to talk about skulls today. So I'm going to take some of the best skulls and why they're so, special, and I'm going to put them on display somewhere for a day, and I'm going to just let people come in for free, and I'll give a talk about them. I'll teach people, things that they would have never known. And that's really, that's the fun part for me, so we're a nonprofit, so like donations are always accepted, and it just goes right back into travel expenses or like, the cataloging system and all kinds of stuff. But for the most part, I do it because I enjoy it. And no matter how old my kid gets, I'll always remember that this little girl just had a thought that was just so fucking amazing, that I hadn't thought of it myself,
That's awesome, though. Sometimes kids just have the most brilliant ideas without realizing they do. It just comes so easily to them that they're like, oh, yeah, you should do this. And then they wander off, and then it sticks with you forever and changes your life. But to them, it's just one of a million amazing thoughts that pop into their head. And it goes back to what we're saying earlier, is children really are special beings and special forces. And like I said, it's just a shame that this world taints them. And as they grow older, they get into adults and they lose that magical touch a lot of times. But, it's amazing the brilliance of children.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Now, it's awesome that you love doing this for the teaching aspect. Like you said, that you can put your displays up and allow people to come and see it. And like I said, whether they are someone who follows the path of oddities or whether they are someone who never really had anything to do with oddities, most people, and I say most, will flock to pieces like this. When you stick a skeleton somewhere, you stick a human skull, or you stick wet specimens, whether it's skin or whether it is a fetal wet specimen, whatever it might be, people are going to be curious. It's not. Yeah,
it's a morbid curiosity. Like no matter who you are, many, like you said, most people will want to. At the very least, they want to see it.
It's like, it's horrible to say this, but it's like the person that slows down at the scene of a horrible crash. Why do you do that? It's not because you're caring necessarily. Maybe some people do, but, and maybe we all do necessarily, but it's more for the fact that for some sick reason, we slow down and we're like, what can we see? And why we do it, we don't know. It's just we do it. It's our human nature that it's a morbid curiosity, as you said. And most people have that in their brain. Now, there's some people that are just completely repulsed and they'll see it and just be like, bleh, but that's going to happen. But most people will come over and check it out and just say, wow, I've never seen anything like that in my life. So, I'm sure a lot of your exhibits and things you put up, and even at different oddities, expos and conventions and things you do, I'm sure you get a lot of people, maybe not even necessarily wanting to buy anything, just coming by simply to see and to question and to learn and to be a part of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Like, I just did a show with Josh Balls, owner of the Strange and Unusual, in October. And, we're hoping to build on that more because it was so great to see these people come, not just the patrons, but also the vendors, just see people come together and like learn from each other and just like have a good day and like walk away feeling that either they accomplished something or that they're richer in some way, cause it's not all about money. Sometimes you can just learn something and you're like, God damn, wow, and it's that look on people's faces when I see that, when I know that like their mind is blown and they feel like they really took something from just a simple interaction. It sounds silly, but like if I didn't have bills to pay, I would do that 24/7.
I wish I could do this 24/7. I've told my wife that numerous times. I'm like, you know what? I wish that if I could make a living specifically off of, oddities or curiosities, which I probably could if I quit my job. But it's one of those things that I'm invested in a lot of different things here. And I'm like, you know what? A big part of me wants to say what I said earlier. Sometimes you won't know if you're really going to break through until you just throw caution to the wind. But I'm like, I don't think I can throw caution to the wind right now. It's one of those things, and maybe it's just my own hesitancy. I don't know. But I often say that if I had an extra 45, 50 hours a week than I do now, because I work a full-time job, that, I think I could do very well in this field and could make this, not only my career, but my ultimate passion. I love it. I love working with bones. I love examining them. I love to talk to people about them. And that's why, as we talked about earlier in the conversation, I don't mind when someone has 40 questions on a bone. I'm happy to answer them because I just love talking about them. But I'm sure we've joked about it before on social media, you and I and others, that, the number one question we get asked is, what's the history on this thing? That's a lovely skull. Can you tell me where it came from and the history on it? No, I can't.
Yeah, what was their name? What did they die from? Where'd they live? Yeah.
I fuck with people sometimes, though, because they're like, oh, that's a beautiful, beautiful leg, articulated leg. What's the story on it? I'm like, oh, actually, this came from a guy named Joe Betts. Now, Joe was an amazing, amazing tap dancer back in the day. He was actually quite famous. I'll start feeding them this line. They're like, oh, my God, seriously? I'm like, no, not at all. I have absolutely no idea who this came from. I'm like, I'm just fucking with you, man. And people, a lot of times they laugh about it and they're like, oh, wow, man, you had me. And then it just makes for a fun conversation. Every once in a while, people are like, what the fuck, man? But it's fun. If I can't have fun on behalf of my customers from time to time, then I don't want to do this. I like fucking with people. I'm a nice guy, but I'm also absolutely a dick, folks. So just know it now. I mean, I'm raw as can be. I don't hold back for anybody. And sometimes I will have fun at your expense. Oh, my. So, I mean, what is next? What is it that you got planned for us? Because obviously, I think one of the things I know I wanted to talk about tonight is the art of plastination. I know that one of the things on your plate right now is the fact of trying to learn how to take different organs and organ tissue and be able to, use plastination to preserve them so that they don't need to be kept as wet specimens, and we don't have to worry about something, rotting away or disintegrating. It'll stay whole. I'm sure that is a very tough process. How has that been going for you so far? I see that recently you've made some major breakthroughs.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a process. There was definitely some trial and error in the beginning, but it's been going really well. I've created several specimens now. I'm actually working on a full human brain. My goal is to put together enough specimens for an exhibit of just plastination, where people can come and they can learn about the process of plastination, but also be able to handle specimens, because they're safe to touch. There's no smell. There's no risk. And I think to the general public, that would be something that could be a huge eye opener, because it's one thing to look at something in a jar, but to hold, for example, a brain, to hold the very, computer of man in your hand. I mean, I get giddy just doing it, and I do it all the time. Yeah.
Well, most people, they've never truly seen a human brain. They've seen it on television. They've seen it in movies. They've never been face to face with an actual brain. And a lot of times that throws people off. Skeletons and this and that, okay. But when they stand in front, as you said, that CPU, that central processing unit, that computer of a human being, and they look at it and they're like, wow, this meat sponge operates everything you've ever known.
Yep.
It's pretty fascinating. The human brain is really an amazing thing, not only from a medical standpoint and an examination standpoint, but to know really what you can unlock. And that goes back to what I said earlier in the field of occultism and spirituality and ritual. We really only tap into about 10% of our brain, and the other 90% stays dormant for most individuals and human beings. But throughout different processes of yoga and meditation, through mantras and mudras, through different processes, you can start to really tap into some of those hidden portions of yourself, unlocking 15 and 20% and 25 and 30% and so forth. And it's truly amazing that we're fascinated by only the 10% that we can tap into in ourselves and everyone that we've ever met and seen. All the art and music in the world and everything else that we've experienced comes from a limited amount of functionality of a human brain. What would be possible if we could tap into the full 100? And it fascinates me that it's there, but for some reason we can't tap into it. Why is that? It's just strange.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting concept for sure. Like, Like I always, when you look at a human brain and you just realize like how much potential is really there, like suddenly, it's not so crazy to think that, a Buddhist monk can bend a spoon by thinking about it. You know what I mean? Like, cause those guys, they spend 30 years just meditating. Like imagine if we could unlock all the channels, what could the human race be capable of? Which is also a terrifying thought.
It is a terrifying thought, and it's also enthralling because I have personally seen things, and a lot of which I cannot speak of, but I've seen things that are just beyond the normal human comprehension of what the brain is capable of doing. For one example that I am willing to share, to die out a candle or light a candle with your mind seems impossible. It seems ridiculous. It seems like it's a fantasy movie. Okay, I'm sure you've seen it. No, I have, and it's actually not as uncommon as you think amongst very advanced magical practitioners that use the currents of energy flow, and they learn how to steer and use energy. Energy is all around us like a giant ocean. We're swimming in it. We just don't know. Everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. When you learn how to harness personal power and learn how to manipulate energy currents that are around you, you can do mind-bending things, as you said, monks being able to bend spoons, being able to do things with the human body that others can't do. Laying on, even people in freak shows that do, laying on nails and things. You have to be able to learn to adapt in certain ways, and them are all small examples. But the candle thing is fascinating, and I've seen it firsthand, and amongst some other things that are even more fascinating. And I've always found that one to be amazing. You would look at a candle and think, how would you look at and stare at this candle and die it out? But it very well can be done, and then you can light it again. And how? How is that possible? But it is. And it's just tapping into those zones of the brain that we're told we don't have, that we're often kept from, because if we're distracted by social media and things all day long, we're not going to spend too much time really digging into the brain. Why would we? We got, Joni's telling me what she's doing tomorrow on Facebook, and Matthew's telling me about, we're all so interested in nothing that we stay distracted.
That combined with just the nature of our society now, like even without the distractions, there's necessary distractions. I have to go to work. I have to pay my bills. Oh my God, the car payment's due. Holy shit, the electric is due tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like we're put in a bubble basically where like we're never going to have the chance to even think past that.
And that's true.
especially in our society.
Well, it is, and it's definitely different than it has been, 200-300 years ago. And I think about the fact that how cool would it be sometimes, I like to ponder on it, that if I could just, in a different life, I guess, vanish, spend decades in the woods, in a little hut out there, true, Hansel and Gretel shit, and spend time strictly connecting with nature and myself. No social media, no phone calls, no other human beings, really. I would love it. Most people say, oh, that doesn't sound fun at all. I wish I could. We're too invested now in everything that's going on in this world, as you said, to be able to do that, really. But man, is that an awesome thought, because I can guarantee you would tap into levels of yourself that you just don't know exist.
I agree. Absolutely.
Now, something else you've recently done, we were talking about Hansel and Gretel, and obviously throughout this we've talked about some different occult topics in very basic stature, but you've made something recently that, has mentioned in a lot of very old grimoires and magical spells of witchcraft, and that is the human tallow candle. Why don't you speak to us about, first off, obviously with all the things I've asked you tonight, where that came from, because obviously you knew about it, but what made you tackle that challenge?
Well, everything I do, with leather, like after I bind a book or something, for example, like I don't waste, I don't waste anything, I'll sell scraps. So maybe other artisans, can, create something with what's left over from what I've done. And, one night I was sitting there and I was just prepping, some of the skin for tanning and stuff. And I'm always left with this pile of lard, just fat. And every time, I bag it up, and I just have to throw it away. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm just sitting here one night and I'm working and I'm looking at this pile and I'm like, man, it's such a fucking waste. Like, I wish there was something I could do with it. And like a light bulb went off and I was like, candles. And then my brain just started cooking and I was like, well, you couldn't burn them because, like, you know, there's carcinogenic agents in the preservation preserved tissue. So I was like, but as a showpiece or an art piece, it should be possible, you know. And it was a project. I had a whole little workstation set up outside and you know, rendering the fat and everything. And like, I learned very quickly it did not work like a normal tallow candle because of the preservation chemical in the tissue. So there was a lot of trial and error, a lot of mess. The smell is ungodly fucking terrible.
I remember seeing you say that.
And then finally, you know, like I got one that, you know, I just kept trying different things and additives and then, you know, just fucking around until something stuck. And when I nailed it, I was like, okay, went back to my notes and I was like, did another one. And I did another one. And then I did like two more. And I was like, okay, this is holding. This theory obviously is panning out. And then I just did a run of them. Like, I took all the waste product I had. And I was like, I'm just going to make a bunch of these candles. And they were received really well, like both by the Oddities community and you know, people interested in the occult stuff. And I got to a point where I was just like, between just being busy with my hands in everything and just the amount of space it was taking up to create, you know, and the labor it was taking to create, especially outside, I was just like, I'm going to do one big run and then I'm done. You know, like it's too much. It's too much work. It's too much, you know, inconvenience to have to be outside all the time with the colder winter months coming. And, you know, and then I announced that like this was the final run, you know, and I did some bulk deals like for oddity shops and stuff like that wanted to carry my product. And I think I have like 4 left, something like that. And I did make one very large one just for myself, just to kind of like remember, like, oh, that's a thing I did.
Well, you should. I mean, it's definitely good to keep that as just a keepsake and say, you know what, I created this, because it's not something that you come across. So, I mean, to have one in your collection and with your pieces, you know, it makes sense to have that. Because as you said, I mean, there's no one else really doing it. I mean, and if anybody else does, chances are they're probably copying off of you at this point. Not that it hasn't been done in history, but I mean, it'd be safe to say at this point, if someone else all of a sudden pops up with them, it's because of your inspiration.
Yeah.
So it's cool that you done that and put that out there. And I know people were jumping all over it. You know, and obviously I understand the fact that you can't burn them because of the carcinogens that would be in it, and it would poison you and kill you. I mean, you could burn it, folks, if you wanted to. I just wouldn't suggest it. But you know, I always found that fascinating because since a child, I've always been fascinated with the occult, and it's been a huge part of my life. You know, the main part of my life, really. And you know, all the old grimoires from, you know, the 1400s and the 1300s that talk about human tallow candles. And, you know, it was just cool to read that and then see you pop up with it one day. And I'm like, what the fuck is this dude doing to me? Because there was a part of me that I was going to buy one, but I'm like, but I can't actually burn it. And see, if I got it, I would want to use it in ritual.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't buy it, and you know, it's certainly worth the price tag, but I'm like, to buy it and just look at it, I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I won't do it.
And that was another reason where I decided to stop, because I was getting a lot of people that wanted to burn them for the same reason, but a lot of people were like, well, I'm going to do it anyway.
Oh yeah.
And it got to a point where I was like, if you're going to blatantly be that ignorant, I can't responsibly sell you this product. You know what I mean? And it just became more of a headache than it was worth.
Yeah, I mean, some people just don't think. I mean, yeah, it's cool to want to go back and rework the old workings symbolically, because that means something. But, you know, not in the case where it's probably going to kill you. It's going to stick to your walls. And, you know, you're going to be breathing this shit in a week later. Anybody else in the room is going to be breathing it in without even realizing they're breathing it in. Not smart.
Yeah, exactly.
Not something to mess with. Let's take a look at time here. So we're going to jump into our second break, actually. And I'm going to give you a choice again. Now we have red, orange, and yellow.
Let's go with red.
Red. All right. This is someone who hasn't been on the show. I've tried to get him on before, but he's elusive. He's like the unicorn. This is underground rap legend Loke Saint with the song Angels and Demons. We'll be right back on Uncovering the Underground.
About the game, motherfucker brain pain, hey, drain started young. Hey, snotty nose on the run, smart mouth got rocked to the knot just to learn I was dumb. Hey, food stamps got jacked hanging out of the back of my lead dunks and the brains got wrung. Hey, growing up, watching homies toe it up in the year of 1990 to the one. And I never really had anybody to show me anything different. I was a bastard son. Sifting through the hand-me-down racks of a Salvation Army laughed at by your pastor's son. Beat downs, heartbreaks, never had God's sake. I escaped from believing in one. I was ignoring the fact my heart was tore up and black and cracked after eclipse the sun. At the age of my innocence, flip another page to the race of significance. Truly with the local, I can show you what terrific is. Put up in a chokehold by the devil and better visions of vividness. Prison that the living, unforgiving, omnipotent. Shade up a kid, throwing a demon in his body. Right a shotty, doing everything he told me to do. And learning all the evil he taught me. Protecting myself from evil coming through. Cause the ducks ran dry from my pain and I never subside. Even Cause the hell that I've been through always leading men to die. Cause the ducks ran dry from my pain and I never subside. Even Cause the hell that I've been through always leading men to die. Started singing on the side while the devil took a ride deep inside of a child and I cried. Knowing I will never ever be the same as before when I made a major wager for my life. So I took what was coming while I get a little motherfucker gonna run in tears from the eyes. And I knew that I could never shake a planet devil damage, so I managed by shutting down to survive. The grim reaper flew through all my brothers and family like a thief in the night on a jack move. I went to so many funerals that I slept in my slacks buttoned up with a tie and a black suit. Rick and mortar settled inside my body even though I wasn't local who was packed up in that tomb. Feeling like I'm trapped and I'm strapped to a maniac, digging in my back through my heart with a harpoon. Dark gloom has been known to consume. When the men are meditating, go I right inside a dark room. Gotta start confiding in somebody when I'm hiding, cause the heart is steady sliding to my stomach, but the barf soon. If you never ever found a brother dead, it felt the effects of how it hovers inside of your head. Smothers your breath like a serial killer with a pillow over your face when you're trying to sleep inside of your bed. Then you don't be knowing death and mind and know that you read. Got a little taste when embracing it from the head. Follow me for a minute and holler me need a man. Could have fit the whole ocean from my many tears shed. From my baby little kids, the homies family spread. I've seen many die, put aside for a while. And from it all happened in tear ducts ran dry. Now it's like I've evolved to where my eyes can't cry. Cause the ducks ran dry from my pain and I never subside. Even Cause the hell that I've been through always leading men to die. Cause the ducks ran dry from my pain and I never subside. Even Cause the hell that I've been through always leading men to die. I can't cry, 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 cause the ducks ran dry from my pain and I never subside. Even cause the hell that I've been through always leading men to die. Cause the ducks ran dry from my pain and I never subside. Even cause the hell that I've been through always leading men to die. I can't cry.
All right, folks, we are back on Uncovering the Underground, and that song there was from rap artist Loke Saint. That song was called Angels and Demons. Absolutely love Loke Saint's music. Been a huge fan of his for years. Played his music many times over the last few years on this specific show. And I've tried to snag him a couple times to come onto the show, but he doesn't come out very often. And he puts a lot of music out, but he's elusive. So if you have a connection with Loke Saint or anybody that talks to him, tell him I'm still busting his balls and I want to get him on the show. We have someone who just tuned in here with a comment and said, great track. That is a great track. Honestly, I would suggest going out and buying or listening to any of his albums. He is one of the greatest underground rappers that I've ever personally come across, and I have pretty, versed knowledge in these things. Great guy, and he's got a lot of skill. So he should be famous, but he's not, but that's usually how it goes. So we have been hanging out, folks, with Jeremy Lee Pauley, who is a genius in his field, has a lot of skill in the work that he does. We have talked about human bones. We've talked about human leather. We've talked about, human tallow candles and everything in between in the oddities world. I want to say everything in between, but really we're just scratching the surface, folks. But if you've just tuned in, like I said, make sure that you jump back and listen to the full episode. Share this around to your family and friends. Make sure you blast it for your grandparents. Since I was talking about the show of mine earlier, and just have a good time with it. We are excited to be back on Uncovering the Underground. We have so many great guests. I'll be putting out a list coming up of all the guests that we're locking in for the season. One thing that will be a change, folks, out there is, we do normally have a lot of rappers on the show in the past. There won't be as much rap these days. It will be a lot more death metal bands, a lot more, versed guests as well, but there will still be some rappers. And in fact, next week's guest is underground horrorcore legend, the one and only Miss Razakel. And I'll be excited to bring her back. We have played many shows over the years together, and I'm excited to get to pick her brain again. Last time she was on, we talked about her album. What the hell was it even called? San del Muerte. I'm probably fucking that all up. It was her Spanish album, which was interesting. First time she'd, in all these years, put out an album strictly in Spanish. So we be excited to pick back up where we left off, see what's happened since then, as she has continuously been playing shows and out touring and stuff very carefully, even with COVID going on, but she's been out playing and just following regulations and things. So much love to her, and hopefully she's staying safe out there. So Jeremy, I always ask every guest that comes onto the show this question, and certainly you don't get to escape it either. If let's pretend for a moment that I'm a genie and I am granting you one wish, but this wish has circumstances to it that you don't just get to pick anything you want. It's a specific thing, and it's that if you could have all of the time that you've spent collecting, selling, researching, fixing, and creating in the oddities field, all of that time back instantly, just at the snap of my finger, it's yours right now to use towards one other thing only, specifically in this life, what would you spend that time on?
To be perfectly honest, if I could get all that time back and use it on anything, I would just use it on the same thing, but I would utilize it more because I'd know what the hell I was doing.
Good answer. Yeah, go back into it with the knowledge that you have now, but back at the very beginning, day one. You jump into the oddities field, and you're like, listen, I can plastinate, I can make books. Hey, you fucking crush the game. Go back in time and do this 25 years ago. Can you imagine that shit if you could rewind back and do the methods that they're doing now back then, how you would just take over?
Yeah, because it's my passion. So, if I could take that time back, that's what I would want to do. I would just want to do it again, but now take everything I've learned and just do it better.
That's awesome. No, I wish I could give it to you, brother. And honestly, most people that are very into their craft, that is their answer. I got to be honest with you. I would say 95% of the time, most of the guests I ask that to are like, listen, I would just put it right back into it again. Every once in a while, you have that person, and they're like, I don't know. And they'll give me some random answer that you wouldn't expect. Like, oh, well, if I had, 35,000 hours back that I spent into drumming, I would actually put it into fingerboarding. I'm actually a national fingerboard champion. I had a guy tell me that. He's like, I'm actually one of the top in the United States at fingerboarding. You know, like the little skateboards.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you fucking with me right now? And he's like, no, man. He's like, I go to competitions and everything. He's like, I'm legit like one of the best in the world at fingerboarding. And I'm like, that is the most bizarre thing I've ever heard in my life. I mean, you can show me a book of human flesh. You can show me a human brain. That doesn't faze me. The fact that you would want to spend 30,000 hours on fingerboarding, now that throws me for a loop.
Yeah, that's damn.
That's a strong love for fucking fingerboarding. I don't know.
Yeah.
Finger banging, maybe. Fingerboarding, I don't know. So we have greetings from Tasmania, Australia. Thank you, Frater and Jeremy. Loving the show. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. That is awesome that we have listeners right now the whole way from Australia. Much love, and hopefully you'll tune in to other episodes. I'm not sure how much of the episode you've heard, but we do bring you an episode every week across this and 2 other shows that I do. So if you're into weird shit, I'm probably going to give you a lot of it, so stick around. Oh my! So, you know, when we don't catch you in the oddities field putting out all these amazing things, what is it you normally do? What's a regular pastime for Jeremy Lee Pauley?
Oh, that's about it. Like when I'm not working on something, I'm either trying to put together a show, or I'm working on like what I want to do a lecture on next, or I'm helping my wife with her modeling career, or I'm being a dad. So like free time is nil for me 99% of the time.
I respect that. You know, I like, as I told you earlier, you know, in a conversation off the air, is I respect people and like to surround myself with people who are like me, that are ambitious, that don't seem to ever stop. I have a hard time putting myself around people that have no ambition and no drive, that don't want to be anything better than they are right now. I set something for myself, and when I reach that, I want to be higher than that. And when I reach it, higher again. I can't seem to ever settle. It's a gift and a curse, because you don't find the right time to ever celebrate your accomplishments because you're looking at the next one, but that's how it should be. And myself, as you just said, I don't ever have free time. I mean, amongst all the things I juggle, most people are like, how do you do it all? You're just one guy and you do it all by yourself. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm pissed off I'm not doing 5 times more, guy. So it's just one of those things. But you know how it goes, obviously. But one of the things I wanted to bring up is, as something you've been working on, you know, involved in this realm, but, you know, on the side of this, is you have a fascinating documentary coming up. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, it's called Wonder Camera, which is, you know, an old word for Cabinet of Curiosities. And we've been filming for about a year. And what started as a small project is really growing into something that, like, I never expected to happen. Like, we're adding more footage, and, you know, we're bringing in more artists. And essentially it revolves around Sarah and I for the most part, but like not just us, but what we do is the most important, you know, focal point. And we bring in other people who, you know, are in the same realm of business. Like, you know, they're making a living essentially being fucking weirdos. And, you know, like, I want to show the world that, like, not only are like, hey, the creepy guy down the street might actually be really cool, but you too can do whatever the hell you want if you just have the drive and ambition to just go out and be you, you know? So it's a really, really big deal right now. I'm actually working on getting a narrator for the whole film. I have my sights set on Doug Bradley, waiting to hear back from him. But if that doesn't work out, I have 2 other people that I want to reach out to. We're hoping to start filming again in February. And if all goes according to plan, we should have the final cut and everything done and ready to go by October. And what I'd like to do in October is I'd like to rent out an entire movie theater and have a private screening of the film. And then directly after that, it'll be dropping on Amazon, and then hopefully Netflix and Hulu following.
That's awesome, man. I wish you the best of luck on that, and I hope that it all comes together the way that you plan it in the time frame that you plan it. Really awesome project. I can't wait to eventually see it as it comes out. Hopefully the restrictions, actually let me backpedal. Hopefully things with COVID will die down and eventually start to return to a normalcy throughout this year, and restrictions can eventually start to be lifted so that people will have the peace of mind to be able to come out and pack that movie theater and be able to enjoy it without that fear in the back of their mind. Because unfortunately right now, there's just too much shit going on and too many people getting sick and too many people dying. And it's just really fucking up a lot of projects that people have going on, a lot of tours, a lot of albums, a lot of things like even what you're mentioning. I mean, it makes it so much harder to get it done in the time frame that you want to. And then when you release it, to release it in the manner that you want to release it compared to if it would be released 2 years ago. Or 3 years ago. And it's just making it very difficult for all the artists out there. So I wish you nothing but the best of luck and hope that it all comes together the way that it needs to and should to get the best results. Because I know it'll be something that'll gain much traction in the occult community, or the oddities community rather, and just the general public, because as it hits, some of these streaming services, there's a lot of people, as I said, who you would never guess that are going to be sitting, browsing someday and see them like, what is this? And click on it and love it, or secretly be closet oddities lovers that don't want to tell the rest of their family. You got these soccer moms that are fucking dying to have some skulls and human flesh in their house, but they won't ever tell anybody. So they're watching this documentary just loving it. And I love the fact that, you said it. Because we are into very strange, macabre, weird things, doesn't mean we are necessarily the bizarre weirdo you think we are, or that there's something wrong with us. And that's always been the case for me. I mean, people would see me perform on stage this vicious death rap. They would see that I do satanic ceremony as an occultism. They would see that I sell human bones. All of these wild and weird things, and I'm into the paranormal and go across the country and do investigations. So, I mean, it's not one weird thing, it's several weird things. And then they meet me and then they start to talk to me, and I'm like, hello, sir, how are you doing? It's very nice to meet you. And people are like, oh, wow. You're very polite and very nice. I'm like, what did you expect me to be, some fucking psycho asshole? Like, that's not me.
Yep.
I just like weird shit, man. I'm just really into some weird stuff.
I get that all the time. Like, people like finally get the courage to talk to me in public, and like 5 minutes in, they're like, "You're so personable." I'm like, dude, I pay my taxes. I do everything you do, bro. You know what I mean? Like.
Well, and I think in your case, I mean, your look, it actually works perfect for the oddities and works perfect for your brand and who you are. But I think a lot of people are intimidated by that. So I think that, they already know what you're into, and then they see you and they're like, oh shit, I don't know if I can talk to you. I don't know. and then that makes it even more than like myself. I mean, I look like a normal guy, but I'm into weird stuff. So it gives them like, oh, this guy looks so normal. And then they find out I am normal. It's like a double whammy. But for you, when they see you, it's like, oh wow, this dude is strange. He's bizarre. And then they talk to you and you're not. And you're like, well, shit. Like, everything I ever believed is wrong.
Yep.
And I love that, though. I love that that's one of the emphases of the documentary is that, we love to teach. We love to help other people understand this beautiful path of oddities. And it's not like we're just some serial killer fucking weirdos collecting skeletons. And I'm sure some people fucking are, obviously. But that's not us, folks. So no, I love that, man. I think there's a lot of really good things coming. We have a comment that just came in and just said, just wanted to say to Jeremy how much I love your work. I have spoke to you on Facebook, and you always are happy to answer questions that I have. I go by Janet. I won't read out the full name on Facebook. I can always send the name to you later. I try to be private on some of these things. But
yeah.
No, but that's great. Well, thank you so much, Janet, for letting us know that Jeremy is great at answering questions, as we talked about earlier, and one of the best in the business, hands down. So we appreciate you, and obviously appreciate you tuning in tonight. So what time we at here? We have a few minutes left. Let's see what we want to ask here. I'm at odds end here, guys. I feel out of place interviewing again because I took a little bit of time off in the Uncovering the Underground world, and I'm loving, like I said, being back. But it's so strange being back. It's almost surreal to me after almost a year and a half, because this normally is a weekly thing, which is a lot of work to go into a weekly interview and get set up for. So thank you guys so much for jumping in this evening, or for anybody streaming and listening to this after the fact. One of the things I would like to ask Jeremy, for the listeners out there, or anybody who's right now saying, well, where the hell do I check this guy's work out at? What is the best way to come across your work, to find you? Where can folks look you up at?
Right now, my social medias for sure. Jeremy Lee Pauley on Facebook, Jeremy Lee Pauley on Instagram. I am in the process of building a site that goes all into my work and things like that. The museum has its own website, that talks about our mission and everything. And once COVID settles down, more schedules will be posted there. That's Memento Mori Museum.com. But if you follow my social medias, you'll definitely see updates on when my website goes live, and the documentary, progress, and just whatever new project I'm getting mixed up in,
There's always a lot of strange things coming, and I love it. Keep it up, man. I mean, I'm always, like I said, stoked to see the different projects that you're putting on, the things that you're involved with. I will always be a fan and always be a supporter, and continue to, work side by side with you in this wonderful, wonderful thing that we call the Oddities community. Hopefully at some point, things do start to kind of return back to somewhat of a normalcy. So other than meeting each other, on social media or on a phone call, we can actually meet one another in real life. I think that'd be great.
Hell yeah.
But other than that, I think we'll wrap up for the evening. But like I said, if you're listening out there, folks, make sure you check out Jeremy's work. If you are in the field of looking for great items, check him out. He always has great stuff going up on the on the cell block. And other than that, make sure you tune into all the upcoming episodes of Uncovering the Underground. If you have any suggestions of what you liked, anything that you want to see me do different or not do, feel free to send a message to celestialoddities@gmail.com. Again, that's celestialoddities@gmail.com. You can also let us know any guests and things that you would like to see on this upcoming season or on the seasons to come after this one. We will be continuously keeping this going. And make sure you tune in next week, Thursday, 8:30 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on Celestial Oddities Radio, as we will be interviewing underground female horrorcore legend Razakel. Other than that, Jeremy, I want to thank you so much for coming on this evening, sharing your expertise with us, and letting me pick your brain a little bit. It's been a pleasure, and I certainly look forward to talking to you again sometime soon.
Absolutely, man. It was my pleasure.
All right, man. Well, you take care. And to the folks listening out there, we love you. Thank you for checking us out. And we'll see you next time on Uncovering the Underground.